Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to the next episode review of Call of the Night, episode 12. And this, but this show, from last week of the last episode, the things that these have gone really pretty much more serious, you could say, especially for our character Ko, because, like I said, Ko, he has grown so much since this first episode, So, and now he's supposed to face this difficult decision, right? Which, to my perspective, I think it's an easy decision for me though. But I'll get to that though. And for the next episode, for like the last episode, we're sure how things are gonna end, how they're gonna wrap it. How they're gonna wrap it for the season with the last episode, like next week, right? And if the way things go, they have to have a second season for. Just the way things are going right now, there has to be a second season. That's all I could say it. Because I really enjoyed the show. Like I said, the animation, number one, has been such a stellar, beautiful looking of animation I've seen. Especially the background shots, and especially with the last episode, they took it a step further with the animation. And especially with the characters, especially with especially our boy Ko, and then with Nazuna, which we'll get a little more in this episode as well, and especially also more with the detective as well, and just it's been a very fun show, and the way things go on, this has to be there has to be a second season of the way things are going. So how they're going to wrap it, which is the last episode, So, but anyway, in this episode, like now the Ko, he is now has now have a different perspective now on with vampires, because with the vampires he's been hanging out with, especially with Nazna and the other ones, they've been all like like how they all been like pretty much nice and all that stuff. But the thing is though, although he saw a little, he saw a little bit, what happened with with Nazna, like fights with when he fought with Sari, when he cut her arm off, all that stuff, right? But he got the full thing of it when what happened with that vampire, with that guy who was a vampire, was trying to suck Akira's blood, how he got scared and he froze up, and then other thing what happened with the detective, how he killed the vampire, and now he has a whole new different look on how he looks, a different look on vampires now. And he asks, although there was a brief moment, there was at the start of this where Ko's friend was like talking like to the detective in her office, saying how we about vampires, and say how about him falling in love with a vampire, and he's also questioned as well, because there were, another thing I'll get into, that with his friend, Mahira, I forgot what his friend's name is, and now he wants to ask Nazuna because of how about with the vampires, how they could just all of a sudden just turn evil like that, right? It's very dark and it's very because the reason, because like the guy, how he turned, because he became like that because he was tricked and fallen in love with the vampire, and he did not feed, he didn't drink, had a single drop of blood as he became a vampire. He just starved himself for 10 long years, right? It was very excruciating pain for the guy. And also what Nazuna was saying, because he wanted to keep that part of himself as a human, not to end up becoming like a monster, right? He wanted to he wanted to have that, what she said was, had that honoring of him, of trying to be human, but the thing is, though, not feed anyone as being the human part of him, But the thing is, though, he was worried that, maybe Nazuna may end up, like, doing the same thing, because the part where she was gonna suck his blood, she kind of, like, pushed her away for a moment, and he's like, sorry, but he was just being very cautious now. Because he may think that she may end up doing the same thing, right? And he's like, "Oh, you idiot! You're an idiot." Um, but he's asking about what things will happen with other vampires, so. And then what the part where he was talking to it where his friend Mihira, that he was like delivering flowers, right? And he was like looking. There's this one person that working at I guess like a bar, and she is like like a very revealing outfit, and just basically just seeing the whole chest and all though, and the woman's like to Ko is like he's visually like staring. He's like, hey, and I see a look, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, And well, because she's saying it in a very funny, intentional way. Say, hey, I like the way you're staring, and then Mahira is like, saying that, hey, if you want to stare like that, you have to be very discreet about it. Just pretend like you are not looking, And then it gets to a serious talk about the whole thing with vampires, and he was just saying that's how he wants to. He was questioning Ko about how he his whole thing wanted to become a vampire, right? And this is the point where he makes this where Ko has this very very difficult decision, right? Either you stay human or become a vampire, right? I mean, you stay human though, you don't want to be like all of the. Because like I said, being a vampire has its pros and its cons, right? Basically, right? You want to become a vampire, you have to live with those pros and cons. But you don't have to if you just want to stay human, though. But I like how when Mahira is just telling Ko, just think about your decision, and he didn't want to like do it press it because everywhere after we saw the other night, he was just telling because there was also an episode a while back where Mahira was walking with a woman, and where they didn't see Nazna and Ko on the other side of the street though, but Nazna was seeing them, and which kind of made me question like I said is when I reviewed that episode, is like is the woman he's walking with, is she maybe a vampire or not, which that made me kind of question it though. It's like now because with that, and now he's asking all these questions, just being very cautious and all that stuff, So you get another nice moment with him telling telling Ko, what does he want? Why becoming a vampire? Why? So, and then after he goes back talking with Nazna, who invites her over to his place, right? And he's asking, "Where's your parents?" And he's like, "Oh, she's working." His mom is working at this time of the night, right? And his dad is not around because they divorced. So, and now Naz was like, "Oh, this is your room, right? And where's your porn stash, right?" Because it's like a typical how a boy like around his age who has like a secret porn stash, right? He's like, "I don't have any," And then he's once again telling Nazna about this whole thing about the decisions why he wants to become a vampire, right? And saying the decision that's how because the night is free, right? It's like freedom. It's like a whole nother world, It's like out of the ordinary, right? Where you have a lot of things you can do during the nighttime that you possibly don't do in the day because basically there's like no other people, no traffic, it's just like a whole different type of freedom or other world, like he said. Maybe that's probably because he wants to. Why? He wants to fall in love with Nazna and become a vampire. But that's one of the reasons why he wants to. He wants to enjoy the time of being more in the nighttime more than how it was, because he really enjoys it, being free and all that stuff. Why it's different in the nighttime. But then Nazna is saying if we get this another moment with her, because how he's saying how he lied to her, how she lied to him. Sorry, that she lied to him. Say that how sometimes well, she explains one of the cons of being a vampire, right? That all this, even of as decades as she is, decades young, the thing is about being immortal because you've been young for so many decades and all that stuff, right? And for being a vampire, you can get very bored in life. So for her, she was very bored. It was a very boring, sad life for her. And the whole thing the things that she got good at was playing video games. And so yeah, it was you may be a vampire strong and all that stuff, right? Though, but the thing is, your life can get very boring, and if her life was all that was very boring, but I guess into the part where she met Ko, right? Because up until where she was meeting Ko, before meeting Ko, her life was so boring though. She just she was just going through it day by day, But with meeting Ko though, it's been very. Yeah, she had some very fun times with Ko. Everything was like before he showed up, right? So it was a moment where she was explaining, being a vampire has its pros and cons, right? And that's one of the main cons, being a vampire. That it can get very boring and just what other things you can do, right? So you get a nice moment there as well. And then back when he goes and calls the detective, and there's really another fun moment where it's like the animation once again. Whenever she appears on the screen, it's funny how with the animation is very beautiful with everything else though, right? But every time when she appears, it switches to like that sort of black and white. It's not totally black and white though, but like I said with the previous episode, like wherever she's around, it's like this old black and white type of filter, right? Because she's a detective, right? And it's like not like those old detective movies, like I said, like Sherlock Holmes, right? I like how the way it's styled. It's very stylish animation where whenever she's up on the screen, it switches to that sort of black and white filter type of animation where, like I said, kind of like a nod to like those old detective movies like Sherlock Holmes, like I mentioned, right? This is wherever she's appearing, right? And then she's talking, and he calls her to talk to her, and like how she knows about about this, how much does she know about him? Because like she's like giving all these things like how much she knows about him, right? Like, oh, you're a middle schooler, you skip school, but you somehow have decent grades, or you're a single mother household. Everything he knows about him, right? And he's like, and they say, oh wait, how do you know all this stuff? It's like, oh, I'm a detective. I'm a detective, so it's like my deductive reasoning, right? I'm just figuring all this out, but then all this again serious that how she wants him not to pursue this dream of becoming a vampire because in her mind vampires are evil. It's natural for humans to do other things to other humans though, but it's not when vampires has conflict with humans. To her, from her perspective, vampires are very evil and all that stuff, right? And maybe it's because she has like experienced that with the past. That's why she thinks that these creatures are evil, right? And then when she gets where she starts, it was a creepy moment where she's just like walking steadily closer to Ko with her eyes doing like this and widening one eye to another way. She's like walking closer to him, right? Like this, like one eye open like this, while widening to the other one. I was like, it's like, okay, this woman's like getting the creeps, right? When she's just like walking steadily toward them like this, and then it's like widening one eye on one side, and then the other one, right? And then she goes and says, hey, if you can have it that way, I'm available, right? Kind of like offering her body to him, right? And then it's like if you only have Nazna, because she also mentions her name, so she knows of Nazna, and it's like, oh, you can have me instead, But then it gets the more poor where he doesn't want any of that. He's like, I want to like have you Guess if you become a vampire, then I'll kill you. If not, if I don't kill you, then the other vampires will. You'll become a liability as well. And Naza knows about this, and knows about it. Then she'll have to kill both of the others. Will kill both of them, right? And then all of a sudden, if you don't, then I'll choice. But make this is what his decision, right? He has to choose to make this decision. You become a vampire, or and be killed by her, or just be human, and forget about all stuff, right? And then she goes and calls the police because a young middle schooler is out in this time of the night, right? So she goes and calls the police and just now it's forces him to flee because I guess if someone his age should not be out here at this time of the night, right? And he goes and runs, and you hear the police sirens with the animation. It looked like once again nice perfect animation where she focused on him, where his body is like being reflected on red because of the police sirens, right? The police lights. And now he's forced to run, and he sees the cop car, and he's forced to hide in one of the parts of the playground, right? And he has to find Nazna, and then he gets meted up by one of the vampires. Not the vampire who was the one at the vampire cafe. No, but it was the other one that among the other the vampire girls that he met from a couple episodes back, though, right? It's not the one who was at the vampire maid cafe. It's the other one who has like longer hair. So, and it's like, oh, do you remember me, right? And then that's when the episode ends. So yeah, so the way things are going, if things are gonna wrap up like this I don't see how things are gonna. All this is gonna wrap up in the last episode, right, when it's coming up. If that way things are going, there has to be a second season because I don't see how all this can be resolved in the next episode, which is the last one. There has to be a second season. If somehow they can make all that stuff be into one episode for the next one, right? I don't know though. I just still feel like there needs to be a second season for this because first of all, I thoroughly been enjoying the show, and it's been slowly building up. Especially going from slice of life, right? It has been like more like a slice of life romantic comedy, right? But the thing is though, then has. Ever since that detective was introduced in the last episode, things have been getting pretty serious, especially with that vampire who was hungry and her basically hunting vampires. Basically, she's a vampire hunter and a detective as well. So with her throwing in the mix, things have been gotten pretty serious, right? So and especially with telling Ko, either if you do become a vampire, I'll kill you because vampires are evil, and if not. Just forget everything and just all call the police and you just be basically on the danger of never coming out in the middle of the night again, right? Because you're a middle schooler and can't be out this time of the night, right? So he has that difficult decisions, But to me, in my perspective, I think he's still gonna choose to still want to become a vampire. Still, to me, that's still his. He's still gonna stick with that decision, though. But this has been another really great episode, he's forced with that one decision, and then with the detective, and his whole take on vampires has been has a different look on them. How the way, especially with that one encounter with that one vampire, saying how these vampires, like I said, the vampires can have their pros and their cons, right? And with Nazo saying that, you can become a vampire, but the thing is, it can get pretty boring, Very boring as a vampire. How the way she was living before she met Ko, And that's like the one thing she got of being a vampire is that she got good at playing video games. So yeah. But yeah, this has been a very good show, especially when this detective has been introduced, right? It's been getting a very serious tone and shift in tone, right? From romantic comedy to slice of life to this drama, which there hasn't been that much drama. Usually drama gets solved in one episode, though, but with her now, there's a potential danger now. And I can't wait to see how this last episode will come up with. If it doesn't, like I said, there has to be a second season. I would like to see a second season for this. But yeah. It's been very good, so... Yeah, so this is episode 12 of Call of the Night. Definitely another thumbs up for this episode. And what will Ko's decision will be, which to me, I think he will still stick with his decision to be a vampire still. But it shows like how he just knows nothing about vampires, and he's like, he has that decision he has now with the detective now and everything else with Nazna and everything. Either be kill or be killed, But anyway, that's my review for episode 12 of Call of the Night. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode review, and we'll see you next time. Later.